Now, one of the great things about tabletop gaming is the ability to have so many different kinds of characters. One day you can be a head-crushing barbarian, and then next week you're playing some twitchy hacker that would rather spend time on the net than with the rest of his party. It's a really great chance to be able to explore all the different sides of your personality and the human experience. But every once in a while, a special character gets created and we latch onto them, and maybe even bring them back in different campaigns. And so today on Roll for Initiative Side Quests, I want to talk about recurring characters. My favorite character that I have, and I've used him in multiple campaigns and in different game systems, has been named Emhad. I created him specifically for a Dungeons & Dragons 2.0 campaign that I was a part of over a decade ago. Now, he was somewhat based off of the unarmed fighter monk-based class, and he was heavily inspired by my favorite book series, Dune. He was a member of a secluded desert order, and they were very militaristic, incredibly religious and devout. What was specific about Emhad that I really enjoyed, and it created a lot of headaches for my GM at the time, was that he was a grappling fighter. But instead of using daggers or just barehanded subdual damage, he had special gloves that he wore all the time. They in fact were magical and had fused to his hands. And on the fingertips of 3 of the fingers were a special razor blade. And so we would use this grappling technique and fought almost exclusively using called shots in order to try to go for major arteries or to sever the tendons in his opponent's wrists and elbows and what have you. There was also a slight magical aspect to him. He himself didn't use magic all that much, but throughout the course of the campaign, he became blessed by their god. So he was able to issue commands and survive, and found out that he was actually a part of a divine lineage with the race of panther and tiger-inspired angels that his society worshipped along with their one god. I'm not really sure what it was about Emhad that made him so special for me, but he really took off. I ended up doing lots of different kinds of research onto like Bedouin culture and ancient religions from desert areas. So I incorporated stuff that I read about Islam and read about ancient Judaism, along with some of the stuff that was established in the book series Dune about the Fremen. So he's very much a religious zealot, and built into him was this vengeance and this cultural war against orcs, as well as the need to be able to pray and do all of these appropriate things for his deity. He was definitely a fighter, and he excelled in combat. But to balance that, after talking with my GM, we really tried to not get him into fight-to-the-death situations as much as possible. He prided himself, Emhad prided himself on being a leader and a tactician and a devout spiritual person who didn't like violence, but was always ready to fight for and die for his god if it was necessary. So it was really fun. I think at one point I even wrote a small little travel-sized Bible for the history of his people, for the goddess and why she was fighting with her brother all of the time, and the history of his culture. Really above and beyond what most people do, although certainly some people go that in depth all the time. It was the first time that I had been so compelled to write something for this character. Now, Emhad was created for Dungeons & Dragons 2.0, and that was the rule set that he started with. When I was in college, some friends of mine wrote their own campaign system called Harbinger, and we transferred all of our characters, and I transferred Emhad over to that system as well, and he worked pretty well. In fact, he became a little scarier combat-wise. But since then, I've used him in Pathfinder, I've set him up for the Savage Worlds system, and I've even considered seeing if I could find a way to make him work in the Shadowrun setting. I haven't done that yet, but it's been something I've been kicking around here and there as a very special kind of one or two shot high-level character. It's really fun when you're able to find a character you care about so much that you want to not just tell their story and not just get the campaign finished and not just do the job or the quest that you're on, but really establish a history and a backstory and how he fits into his entire culture and society. Now, am I saying in order to have a recurring character or to make something work, you have to go out and create an entire civilization, a faith system, and a whole new martial style? No, absolutely not. But if that sounds like fun to you, man, sit down with one of your game masters and figure out how it would work in their system. It can be really rewarding. I've used Imhad in lots of different games, but I've also had some game masters where he hasn't been a part of the system use the world that I created, the society and the faith system, in their own setting. They made it completely their own and they made some changes, but it was kind of neat to run across them here and there. So while the ability to play all kinds of different aspects of your own personality or people that maybe you know is great, it can also be really fun to create a character and use them not just in a long campaign, but bring them back and tweak the character slightly as you go along. Alright, so that's my time for this side quest. I'd love to hear about what some of your recurring characters are. You can leave them down in the comments. If you've got a character that you use multiple times or have used him even in different versions of that character in different world settings, let us know how that worked out. Were they perfectly the same each time? Or did you focus on different aspects of that character's personality? So I can't wait to hear about your recurring characters, and I can't wait to see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Alright, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.